Welcome to Sports Communications Topic 3. This is 3E Sponsorship and Tourism Part 8, where we continue talking about sponsorship decisions. We need to be clear about who makes decisions, whether it's the users who use the product that needs to be bought, whether it's gatekeepers who control the flow of information, whether it's influencers who affect the decision, whether it's the deciders who make the buying decision, or whether it's actually buyers within the organisation who have the formal authority to select and purchase the product. All of these people may actually be a part of the buying decision, and you need to be able to identify them and sort out what each of them needs to know in order to make the right decision. Equally, you need to hope that their process is actually rational versus emotional decision making. However, that doesn't happen all the time, and it will probably be a mix of both of these. The rational factors are around the price, the quality and the service, and also that ability to reach their audience. The emotional factors will be things like job security, organisational status, attachment to a sport or a team. Now, just using a local example, Nelson Pine has sponsored the rugby here in Nelson Bays Rugby, for some time using their Golden Edge brand. Now that's entirely because Murray Sturgeon is an ex-rugby rep player. What happens when he leaves? Is there enough of a connection between Nelson Pine and rugby for that sponsorship to last through the next CEO's tenure? The rational factors and the emotional factors do not always conflict, thinking again about local sponsoring, but the changes are that sponsorship is becoming more business-like as time goes on, and you need to be able to justify your sponsorships to your shareholders. So, considering the decision-making model, basically you're looking at acquiring a whole load of sponsorship proposals. Then there's some sort of buying centre composition. You put together a group of people who are going to make the decision about it. You need to use that buying grid where you're actually considering how new the problem is, what information you need, and thinking about alternatives. The other side, there's also an interaction process between culture and dollars and influence within the organisation, and all that becomes the buying process. Then there's a purchase decision made, you get a selection of a preferred sponsorship property, and then you implement and evaluate the sponsorship property into your organisation, and it becomes part of your communications effort inside the company. Just within that purchase decision, or within that process, you need to ask the question, why do we care about this information as a sports entity? Realise how many proposals a company receives every year. You don't only need to convince the decision maker, but all the other members in the buying centre, and the decision they make might not be rational. You may have to play on emotions, particularly if it's a CEO hobby for the process. Next step, activation. The dollars a sponsor spends to build the sponsorship into their campaigns and programs, or into their communications plan. Activation costs between 50 cents and $2 for every dollar that the sponsorship costs itself. That's according to Nick Harvey of the New Zealand Sponsorship Agency. The sponsor has to activate the sponsorship or it's pretty worthless, and an IOC top sponsorship runs between US dollars 70 to 100 million, so activation cost is 35 to 200 million. But remember those stats I gave you about Atlanta and Coca-Cola, where their sponsorship cost them 40 million, they spent $410 million in activation. Activation is a key step in building it, providing the resource to build sponsorship into your promotional tools and goals.